scenic Bocas del Toro archipelago, which we can see over there. You see the quite magnificent. Oh, God, it's such a lovely morning. Look at those blues. Look at those blues. Wow, 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 wow. It is very beautiful. Well done to Vendetta for being on time. I was a minute late, which I don't think was too bad, considering I pressed go live and then I did that thing where it said, oh, your orientation is wrong. And I'm like, what are you saying about my sexual orientation? And it's like, no, the orientation of your phone is wrong. Oh, so I changed that. Anyway, it's a bit laggy. It's a bit laggy, old YouTube live when you're on your phone. Big shout out to everyone in the chat. We've got Paul Ewan in there, we've got Jenny, we've got Alfred and Ren, we've got Nick and Diff. If you'd like to join them, just subscribe to the channel. Simple as that. And if you'd like to subscribe to any of my other channels, they are all at Graham David Hughes. So that will cover, I don't know, Facebook, Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky, which for some reason I'm now on. At Graham David Hughes. That's it. That's all you need to know. LinkedIn, I guess. Has the water level gone down? Yes, Paul, it has. But it might come up again with the full moon, you see. Full moon. It's pulling the water up more. So, Vendetta's followed on Blue Sky. Brilliant. Don't know how much I'm going to be using it, but I'll give it a go. So I didn't get much sleep last night. And I know you're probably thinking, oh, you poor fella. But we've got some problems with our batteries in the house, so we're having to run a generator at night just to keep the fan and the lights going, and it's dead bloody loud, and also it kicks a load of horrible toxic smoke out, which it's under the house. I shouldn't be able to smell it, but I can smell it, and so that was keeping me awake. So I turned it off, and then it was nice and quiet, but then I started thinking, that's always a bad idea. And I thought, there's a boat going by. You need a power store. Thanks, Vendetta. Toxic smoke, Graham, that is Coffee's favourite breakfast. Yeah, indeed. There's a little boat out there. I don't know if you can hear it. I sound like a wasp, a loud wasp on the audio. I don't know. Tremendously distracting. I'll read some more comments while I'm being distracted by that. Billy Kershaw's in the chat. Jup says, just watched a video of someone using the new Wunderwaffen in HOI4, invading the US. Yeah, and we've got One Angry Pagan is in the chat as well. Anyway, so I didn't get much sleep last night, because I was lying there and I started, and it's quite hot, and I didn't have a fan on me because the power wasn't on. So I was sitting there and I was lying there in the dark, and I started thinking, if Donald Trump decides on Inauguration Day, January the 20th, to literally shoot Joe Biden in the back of the head in front of an audience of millions of people watching on TV, there's no law to stop him doing that. Why is no one talking about this? This is the question that I want the answer to. Why is no one talking about this? Because I'll tell you now, if I was pretty sure I was on Donald Trump's list, and let's have a think about the people who are on his list, right? So Biden, Kamala Harris, Liz Cheney, who he has actually said that he would like to put before a firing squad. He said that out of his face, right? He said in all capitals, I hate Taylor Swift one night. Hates her. She's probably on his list. AOC will be, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez will be on his list. And then there's probably dozens of celebrities that you like to watch on the TV, people that make you laugh, like Jon Stewart and John Oliver. They'll be on his list. And he can kill them with impunity. He can order other people to kill them, or he can do it with his own disgusting little shriveled orange hands. And it won't be illegal. Do you understand how dangerous this is? This is a bit like saying to Hannibal Lecter, hey, Hannibal Lecter, You can eat as many people as you want, and you will never have to go to jail. You'll never have to have a cell, you'll never stand trial for your crimes. And it kept me awake. Honestly, it kept me awake because I started thinking about all the permutations of this. When he is inaugurated, as soon as he is inaugurated, the Supreme Court, which is full, stacked with MAGA crackpots, has said that whatever pleases him is the law. Whatever pleases the king, the divine right sovereign of America, anointed or anointed? That's not even a bloody word, is it? Anointed by God. He's the person that Jesus Christ wanted to be ruling that country at that time. And whatever he desires, no matter how sick, how fucked up it is, he'll be allowed to do it. He can shoot Biden in the back of the head. He can torture AOC to death. He can have her arrested, brought to the White House, and he can torture her to death. And there will be no legal repercussions for this. I can't stress this enough to you. And the people going, oh, but he won't. Have you seen him? Have you heard the things he's got to say? When someone shows you who they are, believe them 9 years ago. Believe them 20 years ago. Believe them 30 years ago. Believe them 40 years ago. Believe them 50 years ago when he was getting done with his father for not renting out property to black people because Trump is a massive racist. And you think he doesn't have a list? You don't think that he fantasizes about shooting Biden in the head on the stage, on the steps of the Capitol building or whatever it is? You think he's not thought about that? Of course he has. He's a psychopath. We have given the nuclear launch codes of the world to a psychopath who has put someone in charge of health, apparently, who doesn't believe in vaccines, who doesn't believe that fluoride should be in water. You've got a guy, Matt Gaetz, who's the Attorney General. He's a criminal. He was being done for trafficking underage girls across state lines so he could rape them. And now that's been dropped because, friends in high places. He's going to have a cadre of people around him who will all be above the law. Nick and Diff, I think I'll watch Civil War this weekend, prepare myself for the worst. Nick, I wouldn't. Or if you do watch it, fucking download it. Don't give Alex Garland any money for that movie. And I'll tell you why. I went to see it at the cinema and I was absolutely disgusted. And I actually wrote a script to a video about it, but then they announced the bloody election, so we kind of got lost in the ether. But it's the most irresponsible bit of filmmaking I've ever known. And look, I'm a big fan of Alex Garland. I read The Beach years ago when I was traveling across the Middle East, and it was just the perfect time to read that book. I loved 28 Days Later, which he wrote. I loved Sunshine, which he wrote. I loved Deus Ex Machina. And Annihilation was fantastic. And then he's made this movie that made the Civil War in America look really cool for Republicans. Like, there's a line in it where the woman says, I've never felt so alive after watching some Americans being like shot to death in front of her. I've never felt so alive. There's no children in the film dying of starvation or dying of easily preventable diseases, because that's how most people die in a civil war. They don't die, fighting bravely for the freedom of the press. No, they die alone, shivering, cold, surrounded by the corpses of the people they love in the fucking basement. That's how people die in civil wars. And fuck you, Alex Garland, for making a film where it's all like romanticized and they're going through the burning forest and, oh, doesn't it look nice at the burning with the embers from the burning forest? Doesn't it look lovely? Oh, I've never felt so alive. And I don't know what the hell he was playing at. I don't know what he was thinking of, doing that. He's a Brit, so I don't think maybe he cares what happens in America, but it really, really pissed me off. It's a beautiful film. Very well acted, some great moments in it, But there is a scene with Jesse Plinkton from, the little psycho kid from Breaking Bad who got very big very fast, which made no sense in Gran Turismo. But he was it Gran Turismo? No, that was the shit. No, that was that was the Clint Eastwood film. What was it called? Gran Torino? I don't know. The Breaking Bad spin-off, which is supposed to be set at the same time as the last episode, but Jesse Plinkton had obviously aged 10 years very visibly. Anyway, he plays this psycho who just shoots people because he can. And you're like, oh god, it's such a tense scene. It's such a tense scene. It's such a ridiculous scene. I don't want to do spoilers, but no way they would get out of it that way because people can hear. People can hear. People have hearing. People hear things. Yeah. Do you feel Alex Garland acted irresponsibly in this film? Yes. He's not an actor. He's not in the film. He directed it. Did you see the Ben Shapiro school shooter film? I don't think I want to. To be fair, However, saw the exact same thing to me when describing what it was like in a literal war zone. Yeah. But not really helpful in a year when millions of Americans went to the polls to vote whether to have a civil war or not. But if I was the aforementioned, if I was Beyonce or Taylor Swift or Mark Ruffalo or even Stephen King, I would get out of America in January. I'd just go away for a couple of weeks because, I might be wrong. He might not go full psycho. He might not choose to use his powers. And you can say abuse his powers, but is that right when the Supreme Court have said that anything that brings him pleasure, no matter how fucked up or sadistic, is legal, so long as he does it as an official act? So if he does an official act of torturing Nancy Pelosi to death, he will not face prosecution for it. Like I say, it is like saying to Hannibal Lecter, you can eat as many people as you like, Hannibal. You go for your life, honey baby. You just eat those people. You just chop them up, cook them, and goddamn eat them. And God be with you, because everything that gives you pleasure is legal now. That's what we've done. That is literally what we've done. And I can't believe no one's talking about this. I can't believe I'm not seeing any discourse. I think because of the daily, oh my God, I can't believe he's appointed this person. Oh my God, he's appointed this person. He's probably going to appoint Marjorie Taylor Greene as the head of education. That wouldn't surprise me. But maybe we're getting a little bit distracted from what he will be allowed to do when he's president. It won't just be it won't just be celebs and politicians and journalists are going to have to watch out. It's normal people. If you turn up outside the White House with a placard saying, down with this sort of thing, he can send someone out to shoot you dead. No arrest, no taking you to court and having a jury and a sentence and a prison time. No. He doesn't need to do that. It's far too expensive. He can literally send someone out to kill any protesters outside the White House or anywhere in the country, and it will be legal. I can't stress this enough. And you wonder why I didn't get any sleep last night. This is fucking terrifying. If anyone wants to try and make it sound less terrifying in the chat, I'd love you to help us out. It's for the kids then, says Ben Harjage. Yeah. If you think the British are earning the reward for the stupidest political decision in a century, then the USA proves again to be the country of endless possibilities. Indeed. Your backdrop is spectacular, Graham. Thank you. I've got a couple of ropes. I've got a big rope there. Maybe I can move around here a little bit. You can see a little bit more of the lagoon. It's so peaceful this morning. I'm so glad that I'm here. I'm so glad that I'm here. I'm sorry, it's kind of like a bit whited out because it's so bright, the sun out here. So I'll just move this back. I'll move this back, shall I? There you go. To our little what's it called? Potting shed? No, our little boathouse. Just over there is where Severus Snape died. True story. Well, yes, I know he was an actor. Oh, Tata the Indian, thank you very much. Absolutely astounding that all the right-wing propaganda of the movie Finding Freedom, there's actually the right-wing members trafficking kids, so immoral and contradictive. Yeah, but if Trump wants to do that, he can now. As soon as he is president, he can kidnap American children and rape them to death in the White House. I don't think people understand how bad this is. The Supreme Court have said to Donald Trump, who is a psychopath, who is a sadist, who is a rapist, who is a convicted criminal, you can do what you like, anything you like. He can hand the nuclear launch codes of the entire nuclear arsenal to Vladimir Putin. And that won't be against the law because he'll do it as an official act. Yeah. So, however bad you think it is, it's probably worse. Obama's welcome in Wigan anytime. Yeah, I would come home, Grim. Island life doesn't suit you, says Billy Kershaw. Hmm, I think it does. And why'd you call me Grim? I don't understand why you call me Grim. Am I grim? Am I sort of macabre and go, oh, today we have the news. Everybody died. When the laws passed that presidents are immune from prosecution, or is this the first thing he'll do in office? No, it wasn't a law. It was the Supreme Court. It was a Supreme Court ruling, and the Supreme Court interprets the law. So they interpret the Constitution and any laws that are passed, and they say whether these laws are constitutional or not, or whatever. And there's a particular law that went through trying to protect Trump, and as part of that, they said that he was immune from prosecution when conducting any kind of official act. Any official act. He just has to say it's official once he's president. Once he is president and says, this was a necessary thing that I had to do. I had to torture these children to death in the White House, in Mar-a-Lago. I had to keep them in a basement locked up with no food and yeah, kill them because I had to do that. And he doesn't have to, because the law has been written so vague on purpose. Well, the ruling, the judgment by the Supreme Court has been written so goddamn vague. It covers, I say, a multitude of sins. It covers like anything he wants to do. If he can just justify it by saying that it needed to be done. You know, those children were looking at me funny. Jane Lockwood gets it, says, yeah, it's terrifying. I think the US has to go through this. The seams are already starting to tear. Yeah, Rock Show, I'm not an accelerationist, and I don't think things will get better quickly now. After Trump, I think that this is going to leave a scar on America for a very, very long time, decades, maybe centuries to come. The century of America is over. You know, that time when America was the only power in the world, that's over. China and the EU now, arguably great powers now. Russia, I wouldn't say so much, but Russia has a lot of sway over the US, and there's a good chance, like, you know, if Russia just invaded with troops in the US, the Americans would have a problem with it, but he's done that anyway. He invaded their minds. You got to start thinking of, like, you know, War 2.0, you know, World War 3.0, I guess. It's not the same as it was. You don't need to invade with military means. You don't to get control of the narrative, to control people's minds, because Putin, for all of his faults, is a very clever man, and he has surrounded himself by very clever people. And one of the people he is surrounded by is an absolute master. One of the people who works for him is an absolute master of manipulation, of psychology, of getting people to toe the line, that, you know, agree to things that you would never. If you went up to someone in the street and said, "Would you mind if I shot you in the head?" Most people would say no. But if you can get into their head, if you can make them think that that would be a good thing and necessary and absolutely the best thing they could do, and they'll go to a special VIP area of heaven, with a velvet rope, and they'll get to sit there with all of their friends and perhaps 72 virgins. I don't know, you know, some incels will be up there as well. And you're like, I'm going to shoot you now. And they're like, okay, yeah. Because people can be manipulated. And if you have the money and you own the means of communication, which Murdoch does, which Musk does, and Zuckerberg and Bezos, all these fuckers, they own the means of communication. And they work with Vladimir Putin, who is the most evil man on the planet. Like, Trump is stupid evil, but Vladimir Putin is very, very clever evil. So America's just going to be in the thrall of Russia now for forever. And if Vladimir Putin says to Trump, I want the nuclear codes, Trump will say, well, how much are you going to give me? And he'll say, I'll give you a couple million for it. And Trump will go, yeah. He's a cheap man. He's a cheap man. He's a rich man. He's a cheap man. Graham, you are a bit 1984 this morning. I thought you were going to detach yourself from politics until you came back. Just chill. Says Arctic Bear, £10 super chat. Yeah, mate, fucking hell. You're right. That was my plan, but then once my brain started working overtime on this, I couldn't sleep. And so yeah, sorry. I apologize, but thank you very much for the super chat. I think I'm going to just try and do some mindless manual labor today, lugging stones around the island and receiving soil deliveries from Ishmael's dad's farm on the mainland, which we're going to have to dump on. We're going to have to pick off the boats, and we'll have 180 bags coming today. 180 bags that we're going to have to pull off the boat and then walk to the other side of the island. I mean, one of these bags is so heavy, it's ridiculous. And one of the lads yesterday, when they were turning up, he was carrying 3 bags at once. 3 bags? 3 at what? Like, I'm just like, oh my God. He looked about 17. I was like, how the hell do you carry 3? I can barely carry 1. Then again, I am quite getting on in my old ages. Shropshire Chris asked me, what's the nearest bar to you, Graham? Well, I'm glad you're at Shropshire Chris, because if you look over there, you probably can't see because of the, I don't know. You can see the end of the mangroves, right? And that's where you go. If you just go right there, you just go right, sorry, left. If you just go left there, at that point, there's a structure just across there, probably 100 meters from me, if that. And that's the Drunken Monkey. So if you look up Ginger Island on Google Maps, you'll see the Drunken Monkey. And that's open today. It's going to be open today. But it's going to be full of Americans. So I don't think I'm going to go. I don't think I'm going to go over there because it'll be full of Americans. Oh, there's a boat approaching. I think that might be our friend Ishmael. There's nothing we can do as individuals. Let's enjoy our own company and nature, says Plumduff. Yes, and yeah, you're right. We should enjoy each other's companies. Companies? each other's federations, each other's corporations. But also, I think this is a message that our American friends and cousins, brothers and sisters need to hear, because those people who might be on Trump's list need to get out the country. Like, they need to get out. I'm not kidding. They need to get out. I'm not saying they need to pack up their entire lives and move, but just for the first couple of weeks, just to see what he does, because even if he doesn't shoot Joe Biden in the head on Inauguration Day, which I'm sure he would like to do, and the Supreme Court, I can't stress this enough, have said is okay. They have said it is okay for him to do that. And you know what? If they decide that it isn't okay for him to do that for some reason, what are they going to do? Trump has control of the House of Representatives and the Senate and the executive and the Supreme Court and loads of lower courts around the country, which he has stuffed full of MAGA extremists. Mate, we've got, yeah, it's one of them. It is one of them. Gosh, I'm late again. Oh, I don't know about that. One angry pagan, £2 super chat. Thank you very much. I'm just going to adjust my tripod. Sorry about that. Ruin of US environment, about to go to Bolsonaro levels. Yeah, absolutely. People will die. You know, like when. So essentially, the Texas Taliban have taken over. The Tennessee Taliban have taken over America. They are the Taliban. They are religious fundamentalists who will not allow anyone to stand in their way. In fact, they're worse than the Taliban, and you know how bad the Taliban are. They're more like ISIS. And do you remember when ISIS went to a place called Palmyra in Syria? This was an ancient Roman site dating over 2,000 years old, out in the desert to the east of Damascus. And it's a beautiful place. I went there in 1999. I was there in August 1999, so 25 years ago, and it's just it's like it's an entire city preserved in the desert, and it's beautiful. Like the ruins are just magnificent, and there's temples and buildings, and it's a big area, you know. ISIS turned up. They not only hanged the director of the area from one of the buildings, which was just sick. They also blew up some of the historical artifacts in northern Mali near Timbuktu. They ISIS in North Africa destroyed mud palaces that had stood for hundreds and hundreds of years. Um, it was absolutely heartbreaking, and the same thing's going to happen in the US. They're going to trash the national parks. They're going to build a pipeline across America. It's going to spew oil everywhere. They're going to make sure that everyone is still addicted to oil forever because the vested interests want that to happen. And when I was asked, and you can go back and watch the episodes of Politics Social and the Friday night that we do, where I was the only one saying he's going to win. Well, he might win. I wasn't certain. And when asked why, I'd say because all the billionaires want him to win. All the billionaires want him to win. What do the billionaires sell? Well, if you're into tech, you sell misinformation. If you're into media, you sell misinformation and fear. Clickbait. He's great for that. If you're selling oil, whoa. Oh, I'm sorry you missed that. There was a fish. It looked like a little tiny swordfish that was just skipping over the top of the water like a skipping stone, obviously to get away from a bigger predator. That was quite cool. Sorry, yeah, going back to what I was talking about. I've completely. Yeah, this is the problem with ADHD. You get distracted for a second, and you're like, what squirrel? You forget what you're on about. Yeah, if you are an oil exec, this is great for you. This is fantastic because more people are going to use oil and less people are going to buy electric cars because they hate electric cars. I've always hated electric cars. Over 100 years ago, there was an electric car that you could buy that had like a 80-mile range and went at 20 miles an hour. It was fine. It was called the Detroit, actually, if you want to look it up. It was fine, for getting around town. And yet the oil companies hated it because it meant that you weren't burning their oil. They wanted you to burn their oil in their car. That's how they work. So it's going to be good for them. It's going to be great for the Saudis. It's going to be great for the Saudi oligarchs and Qataris and UAE lot. It's going to be great for the tobacco barons because they're going to roll back on protections. It's going to be great for big pharma because not only are they going to have more people having to pay, ridiculous exorbitant fees for medicine and procedures because there's going to be no cap on it anymore. He's going to take away the Affordable Care Act. A lot of Americans don't realize that Obamacare is the Affordable Care Act. They think it's two different things. And they're like, yeah, he's going to get rid of Obamacare. And it's like, you do know you rely on that to stay alive, right? This is the thing. Pharmaceutical companies know, as you and I know, that if your life is on the line or the life of a loved one, you will sell everything to keep them alive. I mean, goddamn it, you'll sell everything to keep your dog alive, for Christ's sake. People spend thousands and thousands of pounds trying to keep their dogs or cats alive, Think about that for someone that you love. And you can either let them die or you can sell the house and give the money to a big pharma company and then they'll live maybe for a few more months. Who knows? So it's good for them. So all these evil companies that are making shitloads of money out of human misery and despair and terrorist capitalism, they're going to make a fortune. But you know who's going to make the most money? I'll tell you this now. It's not Musk, not Tesla, not Apple, the arms manufacturers. After Trump won the election last week, shares in BAE Systems in the UK here absolutely rocketed. They rocketed. Why? For a few reasons. One, they think war is coming. Two, they know that every single American now, that rape has basically become legalized in America thanks to this vote, is going to have to protect themselves. And the only way to protect yourself from someone who, wants to do that to you is a gun. Especially if it's, you're a woman and most women aren't as strong as most men. I'm sorry, that's horrible thing to say, but it's the reality of the situation. And as such, women are going to have to protect themselves. And what's the best way to protect yourself in America? Well, buy a gun, can't you? So the arms manufacturers are cock-a-loop that Trump is in charge. So you have the most evil people in the world, the richest, most evil people, the billionaires of the world who make their money out of human suffering. And they are absolutely chuffed that Trump has won this election because they know what it means. They know what it means, peeps. So, yeah, why is no one talking about this? I'll tell you why no one's talking about this, because it's fucking horrible and no one wants to think about it. But time and time again, progressives, people on the left, people who, care about the mental health of others, will look at situations like this and just be like, we can't entertain that idea because it destroys everything that we hold dear. That people won't stand for it, that people will stand up and say, no, we don't want this, not in my name. And they will. People will do that, but not enough, not nearly enough. 70 million people in America voted for a rapist, a convicted, well, an adjudicated rapist. A judge found that that man raped E. Jean Carroll, another person who needs to get out of America for a couple of weeks, because she will be on his list, along with Fani Willis, along with the judge in the New York case, all these people and their families, Paul Pelosi, they need to get out of America. I can't stress that enough. And we need to say this now, just in case, all right? Just in case he goes ballistic with power as soon as he gets into the White House, which is very, very likely. And the Democrats are going to just be there like they always are, like a fucking rabbit in headlights. Like, I never thought this would happen. And it's like, mate, have you not been paying attention? So yeah, there is something we can do, and I think it's talk about it and get people to understand the severity of the situation. My late grandmother faced the Nazis and told me never to surrender. I've contacted the Americans. I already told them your advice. Thanks, Tom Duff. Band of Harp Jays. His loons would do it. He would pardon them. Yes, that's another thing. Like, he has presidential immunity himself, but also he has the power to pardon anyone. He's going to pardon all the people who are involved in the January 6th riots, the insurrection on the Capitol building, which led to, as I keep saying, the deaths of 9 people, 2 of them police officers, 2 of them Capitol police officers. And he's going to let them out. So he's going to have little bands of MAGA lunatics, rape gangs. There's going to be rape gangs in America. I hate to say this, but it's true. This is what's going to happen. And they are going to be going out in order to impregnate young women because they know that they can get away with it, and that woman wouldn't have to have the baby that they, if they get her pregnant, she will be forced by the state to have that baby. And that's so horrific. I don't know where to start. This is the Handmaid's Tale stuff. This is Taliban stuff. This is ISIS levels of cruelty and psychopathy. So yeah, if you are in America, if you are on his list, I would say get out at least for the first few weeks of his administration. If you're not on his list, but you care about your own safety and the safety of the people in your life, then dude, do that. Get yourself a flight ticket, get yourself a way to get out of there, because he's going to be arresting a lot of people. He's going to be rounding up a lot of people. He said he's going to do this. He can say that you're a Mexican and no one's going to stop him, and it'll be legal. And if anyone does anything horrible to you, but it makes him happy that they did that because he's a fucking sadist, he can pardon them. And here's the thing, if they do something to you that is a state crime, he can't pardon you. But he can if it's a federal crime, which is a worse level of crime. So get this, right? Get this through your head, right? If you get done by a state trooper, like breaking the speed limit, or parking in the wrong place, heaven forfend, he can't pardon you for that. But if you fucking murder a bunch of Democrats, he can pardon you for that. If you traffic women across state lines to rape them, he can pardon you for that. The serious crimes he can pardon you for, petty crimes he cannot. That's the system we're going to enter into next year. And you wonder, I mean, I don't think anyone is, but like, this is what kept me awake till about 4 o'clock this morning. I've only had about 2 hours sleep. Isn't that right, Pickle? Yeah, Pickle's having a little bit of a chew of the ground. How is your neighbouring island, the one used as example, fared with the high tides, or does that island have higher elevation? No, that island actually has lower elevation than mine, but the owners are a lot more rich than me, and they have actually built a concrete wall which comes a good few feet above the shoreline. And I won't do that here because I don't like concrete, but also, like, I think it will look ugly, but also I can't afford it. I mean, building that sort of thing on this scale, their place is a lot smaller than mine as well. My island is probably about 7 times bigger than theirs. We're having an island measuring competition here, but this is quite a big island. It's 2.2 acres. It's the size of 2 football pitches. So doing something like that would cost tens of thousands of dollars, whereas doing it what we're doing at the moment will cost thousands of dollars. So there's the difference there. And doing it this way is a lot more environmentally sustainable and friendly and stuff, and it looks better. Like having a wall of stones, which are local stones, you know, okay, they're going to be cemented together, but you're not going to really see that. And then soil, local soil behind it, it looks nice. Like it doesn't look like, Ivy, put all this concrete here. Well, you know, what's wrong with you? But yeah, that's what I want. I want people to go into the island there so you can see the entrance to the island. See the mangroves on either side of the walkway there. Hoping to build up the stuff that you can see on the right. It might be on the left to you. I don't know if the picture's inverted. But yeah, and have a little archway there with the sign for Welcome to Ginger Island above the top. That'd be cool. But yeah, they've all done stuff in different ways. One of the things that you'll notice when you come here, if you come to visit, is that most houses are on stilts. They're up off the ground. The reason for that is it rains like crazy here. Not just the tides that you got to worry about. You got to worry about the rain. Like I say, it's technically classified as a rainforest. We have something like 3,000 millimeters of rain a year. Like that 1,000. I didn't mess that up. I don't think that 1,000 millimeters of rain. And as such, you know, we need to, you know, when we do flood with rainwater, which is fine, it generally subsides after a few hours, but you need to have everything above ground in order for that to be okay. So most places around here, you'll see them on stilts, and the place next, well, so Drunken Monkey's over there and over that way towards the camera. So that's kind of confusing for you, but you know, if you turned around, I guess, you go that way to the south, then there's a place called Bocas Barley where they've built cabanas on the water, which are out of the water, and they're a good few meters out of the water. So even though the water here, the water levels are set to rise, probably by about 2 feet in the next 30 years, you can just keep. They'll be higher than that, so they'll be all right till at least 2050. Here, we're going to have to just keep building up, but we will. And what the mangroves will do is they'll just keep getting a little bit higher, and they're smart. These trees are particularly smart, and they'll probably drop more leaves, or they'll make more leaves, so they have, you know, they're closer to the roots don't have to go so far down into the water or something. I don't know. They'll adapt, especially as it's going to be incremental. You know, if I was living on the coast out there and we had crashing waves coming over, then I'd be a bit more worried about getting inundated. But if you look how calm this is. It's like living on a lake. It's like a mill pond. I mean, if we have a storm, we might get some ripples in the water, but nothing like a crashing wave or anything like that. We never get that. And also here in Panama at the moment, touch wood. Good job, everything's made of wood, so I can touch it. Here in Panama, it's a bit of a hurricane hole. So the hurricanes that affect the northern Caribbean don't normally come anywhere near here. And as such, a lot of the yachties come here for the storm season. So they'll sail down from, say, St. Kitts and Nevis or bloody hell, Antigua. Couldn't remember the name of the place there. Antigua or St. Lucia or from St. Vincent and the Grenadines or from the, even from Puerto Rico, the US Virgin Islands. Yeah, they'll sail down here. It takes about a month to sail down. They just take it nice and easy. They can probably do it in a week, full steam ahead, full wind ahead. But yeah, they come down here and they spend sort of August, September, October here, and then once the hurricane season's over, they'll head back up north. So that's quite common. So that's quite good that we are in a hurricane hole. So in a way, we're protected from some of the more worrying ravages of climate change. But yeah, the slowly rising tides is something that we have to address. We just have to address it. And it is just looking back at some old pictures of my island from 10 years ago, when every inch of it was green, like every inch of the island was green, and then looking at how it looked yesterday. I don't know if you saw that in my social media post yesterday, where the whole island's just like so underwater, and I was like, oh my god, it's been flooded before, but never quite like this. I'll be adding a link to the GoFundMe if you'd like to buy a couple of bags of dirt for help out here. I'll be adding that to the description after I finished broadcasting, so have a look at that. Food is great. Roast lamb today. Ooh, yeah. I said something about it being hard to get lamb here in the Americas, and someone said, "I get lamb in it." Yeah, you can get it, but it's not easy. I think more like adverts on the Statue of Liberty. He may have won, but we don't have to give in to him. That's true. There are 1,000 billionaires. Soros to Murdoch, the other 998 keep it real, says Donkey. Every billionaire is evil. I mean, pretty much, apart from Taylor Swift, maybe. George Soros, he's all right. But he's the bête noire, isn't he, for the right-wing lunatics? How long before scaredy cat incels, my house, your match ends up in a ditch? I don't know. American crocodiles have reached you, Graham. I'm angry pagan. What can I do? Thanks for that information, but you're just freaking me out here, mate. Like, why are you telling me that a killer animal is coming to my island? Like, how does that help me? Thanks, but yeah, cheers. The killer crocodiles are coming to Bocas del Toro. There is actually, I was going to say that if you go over to Bastamentos Island over there's a route that takes you from Red Frog Marina over to Red Frog Beach, and there's a little sort of lake, or somewhere like a pond, on the walk, and there is a couple of crocodiles in that. They're only little though, can't do you much harm. Beautiful antiquity. Lots of people are 3D creating detailed notes and all data from recent digs and expeditions. Noted knowledge for the future. They're hoping no more damage. Yeah, the rest of the chat is going to wind up Graham. Then I'll join you and get him to believe he's in a perfect pantomime horror. I don't understand what you mean by that. Fear of death is an evil and not a social behavior I ascribe to. Death is part of the natural cycle. I was brought to look at it. Well, yeah, it is, but what's I have no fear of death. I just want to be there when it happens. Is that the quote? Personally, this is facts. I think either Europe gets its sheet together and be democratic leader of the world, or there'll be no democratic great power, but two authoritarian superpowers and their dependence. QA Library, the USA not built a new oil refinery since 1979-ish, and due to that and other non-investments, the USA has to import oil from non-American source because of oil shale, and oil gas can't be refined in the US. Have you been in touch with Mikey Famine? Yeah, I have. He's really concerned. He's really, really worried about the situation, especially for the women in his life. We were going to try and do a episode of the Friday Night Social tonight, but Mikey would have to host it. But he's got some people around, so we're going to leave it for this week. We're going to try and do it next week. It'll be quite fun. I'm going to dial in from the island, and he's going to be hosting it. We read the World War II stories, lived at the parents' PTSD, being poor, trying to keep your head down, follow rules, send the movies. Germany kept beautiful records. We know how it went down. Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing, like, at least in Germany, and I'm not making excuses here for the fucking Nazis, but they didn't have the internet. They didn't have the kind of historical knowledge, the everyday historical knowledge that people have now. And yet, like earlier this week was Poppy Rage, wasn't it? It was last week was Poppy Rage week, and you had all these people going, lest we forget, and doing these poppy things, which are sometimes really ridiculously tacky. And if I died in World War One and someone made a crocheted reenactment, a diorama of the trenches, in 110 years' time, I'll be a bit like, thanks for that. But yeah, people say lest we forget, and they have forgot. They completely forgot. They don't care. I've got loads of super chats, apparently. I'm going to try and find them. I've got loads of messages. This is what happens when my messages don't come up. I thought Mike Graham might be able to harvest some concrete for Graham. Yeah, Mike Graham, he's a famous concrete grower on the radio for some reason. Unfortunately, concrete will be needed to create defences against sea level at pace and scale needed. I don't like it either, but there it is. Well, why? I mean, what's the difference between concrete and building a wall with stones and cement? Like, if it leaks, you fix it. I don't know. Concrete around here is shit. I don't know if you can see. Right, here you go. Here's how shit the concrete is. See the concrete there, right? What's happened there happens to all concrete, because concrete's a shit building material. What's happened there is that concrete is supposed to be watertight. So it's to be airtight, so that air and water can't get to the rebar in the middle of the concrete. Yeah? Can you see how it's all like broken at the bottom there? Can you see that? Can you see it's broken? Yeah. What's happened there is that water and air has got into the middle of the concrete, because concrete's shit, and has made the rebar expand. So what happens when the rebar expands? The concrete crumbles away, and the rebar inside is rusty. And this is why pretty much every bridge in the world that was built in the 1960s and 70s is in desperate need of repair. In fact, in Durham a couple of years ago, they repaired the New Elvert Bridge, and it cost millions. And it was 50 years old, if that. Whereas the old Elvert Bridge, which was the first one, was built in like the 1100s, is still going strong. It's made of stones. That are cemented together. Anyway, moving on. I hate concrete. To be honest, the only thing I know about Panama is canal related. Yes, very, very interesting thing. We could do a whole episode on the Panama Canal. 28,000 people died building the Panama Canal. It was originally started by the same folks who built the Suez Canal in Egypt. But you see, the Suez Canal is a sea level canal to a sea level canal. It's sea level to sea level. It goes from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean. And it's nice and flat. And there's a big lake called Bitter Lake in the middle, so you can use that. It's great. So they decided to do the same thing here in Panama. And when they started, they thought they would make a sea level canal from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Now, notwithstanding the fact that the Atlantic and Pacific don't have the same sea level, like one is a bit higher or lower than the other, right? That's why if you go around the Tierra del Fuego region of Argentina and Chile, like around the bottom of South America, the waves are absolutely gigantic, as anyone who watched The Mysterious Cities of Gold will have learned. And it's because the one level's here and one level's here, and they hit and they're like, oh my God, what's going on? So yeah, it was absolute madness. And they kept trying to dig in the jungle. Back then, people didn't know the connection between malaria and mosquitoes. People died of malaria left, right, and center. They were trying to dig out a big soggy trench. They were trying to dig through a mountain, and the mud was just coming down all the time and refilling what they just dug out. And they abandoned it. And then the Americans came along and said, we'll build your canal, but we want to own it for 100 years, or whenever it was. So they managed to get a lease for almost 100 years. It ran out in 1999. But they finished off the job and they put locks in. That's just what the French should have done, instead of plumbing ahead with this whole idea of it, being a sea level canal through a mountain chain. So in the middle of the canal is a lake called Lake Gatan, and that provides a lot of the water for the canal. And in recent years, there's been a bit of a drought, and as such, they've had to reduce the number of drought caused by climate change, and they've had to reduce the number of ships coming through the Panama Canal. But the Panama Canal is one of the most important waterways in the world. Like, it means that you don't have to circumvent the entirety of South America. It's absolutely crucial and critical to world trade and world travel. Well, trade rather than travel. I think people can fly, can't they? But yeah, it's a marvel of engineering, but also absolutely horrifying that 28,000 people died digging the damn thing. Moving on. Don't worry, none of them, hardly any of them were like, white and from a rich country. One of the biggest land companies that owns land, also owns mangroves, are F1 in your area. Bernie Ecclestone started to greenwash F1 and say they offset CO2. I fucking hate that. I'm sorry, QA Library. I hate Bernie Ecclestone anyway. Is he dead? Did he die? Didn't he die? Or am I thinking of someone else? Yeah, I hate this carbon offset bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. You can't offset the carbon by saying, oh, I'm not going to cut down that forest. Oh, I won't cut down that tree so I can just, burn a load of carbon. It shouldn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Plum Duff, thank you very much for the £20 super chat. Get yourself some dirt, old chum. Oh, thank you, Plum Duff. I'm going to dig up $20 worth of dirt. Bye for now, says Kevin Lad. Florida cocaine bears have made it to your island. Look behind you. Oh, not cocaine bears. Shit. Don't know what to do now. Should I not get in the water? Should I not get into my nice warm lagoon and swim about in the bioluminescence in case they get me head bitten off? Do not put your head in a crocodile's mouth. What can I say? The croc comment was the sarky comment when the fish jumped out the water. I was trying to get away from the croc. All right. Phew. I can calm down now. Roger, thank you very much for the €20 super chat. That's really kind of you. Another drop in the ocean. Crowdfund won't take euros. Thank you very much to that for that, Roger. I don't know why the crowdfunder won't take euros. That's not very international of it, is it? Can only take British pounds. What about Roman concrete? Tripod, yes. Roman concrete is amazing. It gets harder over time. It's really, really good. We've only just discovered what they did, what additives they put in there to make it so good. If you put it underwater, it actually gets stronger over time. It actually gets stronger, which is crazy, but it's true. Oh shit, my battery power is down to 15%. I might have to wind this up a bit earlier than I thought I was going to, because YouTube and live on my phone uses a lot of data. Right, canal knowledge, yes, indeed. The cities of gold, that brings back some memories. Esteban. They didn't have proper jungle music back then, says Donkey. France has amazing canals, as well as France spectacular plumbing, old still working. Yep. Roman Britain had the best road across England. Really, the engineering with a plan, a blueprint and labour, amazing projects that lasted. Canada loves carbon offsets. Yes, Canada does, and Canada should know better. I'm really sick of greenwashing. I just hate the fact that everyone's got to go on stupid bloody Facebook. I mean, I don't have to, but I feel like I've got to go on there and explain to people why it's bollocks, and hydrogen's the one that drives me up. I can't even be asked anymore. I've just got a picture of the Hindenburg on fire with the word bollocks written across the front of it, and I just copy and paste that onto the message. I'm not even going to explain this. Hydrogen is bollocks, right? It is the fossil fuel company's way of saying, whoa, don't go full electric. What you want to do, right, is burn a bunch of fossil fuels to make the electricity, to make hydrogen, and then burn fossil fuels to get the hydrogen where it needs to go, because you can't really put it through pipes. And then you need to... Okay, so we're still going to be burning fossil fuels. Yes! But don't worry, we can offset them. And we can use carbon capture technology to capture those carbons in the ground by magic, like what the mangroves do in nature, in reality, in normality. But you know, we'll do that. We'll make a big building. We'll make a big building that sucks in all the carbon. And also another reason why I don't like concrete is it's an incredible polluter. It is absolutely an insane polluter. I would like to see modern buildings that don't make me vomit. All right. I want to see modern buildings that are made out of local materials, built by local craftsmen and women, artisans, that are designed by local people who live there and have to live in that city and have to see those buildings every day. Concrete and glass, I hate. It has no memory. It has no story. You find a bit of concrete, could have come from anywhere. Piece of glass, whatever. We build these glass and concrete towers. They say nothing about us. They say nothing about humanity. They say nothing about our shared adventure. All they say is we need to build a building cheap, and this is the cheapest way of doing it, really, isn't it? If you think about it. Whereas if you build a building out of brick, real brick, not tiles that look made to look like they are brick when they're tiles, or panels. They have panels now that they just slap on the side. It's stupid paneling that they have and say, "Oh, look, it's a brick. It looks shit." A brick has a history. You can look at the brick and find out, study it and find out where it was made, where it was fired, what clay was used, where it came from. The same with stones. Like you can find out where that stone came from. You can work out how old it is, see which quarry it came from. Same with wood. What's even better? I mean, dendrochronology, fantastic. You can work out the exact age of the building from the wood that's been used for the building using dendrochronology, which is studying the distance between the lines in the wood, which effectively act as a barcode. So on a particularly good year, when there's been a lot of sun, a lot of rain, you'll have a thick space between the lines. Whereas if it was a year with a drought or something, it'll be a very thin line, and it creates a barcode for each area of the world, and you can tell when that piece of timber was cut to make that. You can tell what forest it was made in. You can tell what year it was cut down. You can tell. Yeah, I mean, there's so much that we are leaving that our ancestors left us to investigate in the future. Concrete has nothing of that. Concrete has no history. It has no place in time. It's just a nothing substance. It's like making everything out of solidified porridge. It's like, well, where did this come from? I don't know. Who cares? Well, can we analyze it and see, where the sand came from that was put into the concrete? From anywhere, really. I mean, maybe we could find out, but I don't know. And here you go. I mean, you've got Arab countries like the Kuwait and UAE and Qatar, and they have to import sand. The literal desert states, they have to import sand to make their buildings, to make their concrete, because the sand that they have is too spherical and it doesn't make very good concrete. And they need stuff that's a bit more jagged, a bit more rough, sharp sand, as they call it. And yes, I did meet someone once who sold sand to the Arabs. I said he should have that on his business card. Hydrogen is bollocks, but not for that reason. Yes, it is. Hydrogen costs 200 to 400% more than current hydrocarbon fuels due to production issues. Last year, price peaked at 600 to 800 more, and people waited 16 hours to fill their cars. Yeah, it's a bullshit technology. It's always 10 years away. How about 100-story thatch roof hyper cottages? We don't need to build tall buildings. This is another thing that just baffles me. We have these buildings that we build in our city centres that stand empty most of the time, like they're used for 8 hours a day. There's 24 hours in a day. So the vast majority of the hours of the day, they're empty. They're literally empty. 16 hours, there's no one there. They're a big edifice that ain't being used. It's just bizarre. And they have to have all these levels, and they have to be. I mean, all architects that roam the world are generally men, and buildings are built, with the male ego, the male gaze in mind. Like that's why they're all shaped like penises, and it's all a pissing contest to see who can build the biggest penis. And women are not given a look in architecture. It's an incredibly closed shop, and they're taught when they go to university and study architecture that anything beautiful is disgusting and anything disgusting is beautiful. And it's a really weird thing that happens when people go to become architects. And I don't know whether they felt that way when they started to become an architect, or they started to feel that way when they, sat down in a classroom and they were told that juxtaposition, so taking a beautiful, 16th century Baroque cathedral and then attaching what looks like a concrete box next to it, like a concrete shipping container cum bus shelter with one glass side. It's always got a glass side. One glass side, we'll have a box with a flat roof, we'll attach that to a beautiful old cathedral. When they think that that's a good idea, I don't know when that happens. I don't know if that happens when they decide they want to be an architect and they want to ruin old buildings and build absolute shit now. I don't know. And it breaks my heart that there are so few nice buildings that have been built since the 1950s, because it's just been cheap and nasty ego machines for usually white, male, European people who just want to make their look, or maybe it's that American look of buildings everywhere, concrete and glass, Las Vegas style. Make this building, it uses loads and loads of CO2. And then after 30 years, Las Vegas, blow it up, build a new one, glass and steel, blow it up, build another one, blow it up. Nothing is built to last. And when someone asked Christopher Wren why he was spending so much time designing these intricate parts of St. Paul's Cathedral, he said, because we are building for eternity. In his head, he thought that if he built something beautiful enough, then people will protect it for the rest of time, for the rest of humanity, at least. And he was right. We will. And I'll tell you this, if those September the 11th hijackers have flown planes into the Chrysler Building or the Empire State Building or the Statue of Liberty, they wouldn't have replaced those buildings with something else. They would have rebuilt them exactly as they were, Notre Dame style. They would have rebuilt them exactly as they were. The Twin Towers, and yes, massive tragedy, 3,000 people died, we can't take away from that. However, those buildings were ugly. They were simply just two tower blocks, very, very tall tower blocks, but they were just tower blocks, and they were replaced with something different because it had no history. No one wanted to protect it. No one wanted to say, oh my God, we definitely need to rebuild those exactly as they were, because that's part of our heritage. It's part of our culture. It wasn't part of the culture like the Chrysler Building is, like the Empire State Building is. And yeah, you might say, well, Graham, you can't diss concrete buildings too much. After all, the Liver Building in Liverpool is concrete. The Liverpool Anglican Cathedral, we know that the Catholic Cathedral is concrete because it's obvious. But the Anglican Cathedral, that looks like red sandstone on the outside. Now it's just a dressing, my friend. The actual insides of it are concrete. But they have dressed it in such a way that it looks like it's made of stone. And it looks bloody magnificent. Well, there you go. Anyway, so that's my pontifications on that. The problem I used to have with concrete is it's used things it shouldn't be, and it's used way too much. It's used for everything. But it's the male Euro-American style, and it's destroying cultures around the world. You have to understand this, because developing nations, instead of creating buildings in the indigenous style and using materials that they find nearby, they're building them in the international style. So everything's becoming bland, boring, Americanized, and it's destroying our culture. And it's really weird to me that we are so passionate about defending culture when it comes to things like music and art and dance and whatever. We say, oh, we need to protect this culture. It's very important to us. You talk to any gammon in the UK, they will talk about how important it is that we keep Morris dancing and we protect our beautiful churches and our castles and everything. And I get that, yeah. But then they're happy to see buildings built that are just glass and concrete, that are someone else's culture, not mine. It says nothing about Liverpool. There's nothing about Panama, And I want to say as well, here in Panama, you can build a jetty out of concrete, and it will not last as long as a jetty built out of Nispro wood. There's a special iron wood here. This isn't it, funnily enough. Right? So this might need replacing at some point. If it was Nispro, it would never need replacing. It is insanely hardy. This is ironwood as well, but it's not Nispro. I've broken drill bits in this. You get a nail and you try and hammer it in here, right? And your nail will just bend. You can manipulate this when it's green, they say, when it's just been cut. But after that, no chance whatsoever. It's like drilling into steel. It is like drilling into steel. And so when I see a boat dock around here that's made of concrete, I'm like, oh, just why? Why'd you make it? I could maybe make the pylons out of concrete, like this. See that plastic one there? So that's a plastic tube, plastic pipe, and then you fill it with concrete, and then you put the rebar inside, and then you attach the top of it to the. We had to do that as a quick repair job because the concrete there is crumbling away to stop this falling on our heads. But yeah, it's. I'm like, why have you made it out of concrete? Like the whole thing out of concrete? You're mad? It's just going to fall apart. And if you go to Bastamentos town over here, there is a concrete jetty, and it's fallen apart because water and air gets into it and expands the rebar, and it cracks because that's what happens everywhere in the world. This happens. So yeah. Anyway, why am I talking about concrete? I thought we were talking about Trump. Where's the Anglican church? What's close to it? The Anglican Cathedral in Liverpool. It's the other end of Hope Street. So you've got the Catholic Cathedral, which we affectionately call Paddy's Wigwam. That's at one end of Hope Street. And then we've got the Anglican Cathedral, which was designed by Giles Gilbert Scott, same guy who designed Battersea Power Station and also the Oxo Building. His grandfather designed the beautiful hotel at St Pancras Station, which is where they filmed the Wannabe video with the Spice Girls, funnily enough. George Gilbert Scott, his grandfather, also designed my local parish church in Liverpool, in West Derby, St Mary the Virgin, where I was a choir boy once, when I was a choir boy, because that was a thing that actually happened. Oh my God. But yeah, so I'm also going to, Giles Gilbert Scott also designed the red telephone box as well, which is resoundingly cool. And the Anglican Cathedral in Liverpool is absolutely magnificent. It always reminds me of Deep Thought from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy for some reason. But it is an absolute magnificent building. And weirdly enough, technically it's newer than the concrete Catholic building, the Catholic Cathedral. It's technically newer because although they started building it a lot earlier, around the turn of the 20th century, they didn't finish till 1973. So it took them 70 years to build this cathedral, whereas the Catholic cathedral was literally thrown up in 3 years. And you can tell, post-war churches are generally shite. But yeah, let's get some 3D printers out and print some good, nice stuff. Or CND milling machines, I think they're called. Let's mill ourselves some stone. Not all Liverpool, just Everton. What? Do be in Durham Cathedral. Durham Cathedral's magnificent as well, and that's a medieval cathedral, or the original parts of it were medieval, dating back to the 1100s. It's incredible. Is it Metropolitan Cathedral? No, the Catholic Cathedral is the Metropolitan Cathedral, I think, and then the Protestant one is it's all over the shop. I don't know. I grew up in Liverpool thinking that 50% of people were Catholic and 50% of people were Protestant. It was only when I left Liverpool that I realised that no, actually. Most people are not Catholics. They're actually a minority, which is not in Liverpool. It only took the Egyptians 35 years to build the Great Pyramid of Giza with stone and copper tools. Said stranded starfish, yeah, which is bloody impressive. It is bloody impressive. I'm in Wells. That's a nice cathedral. It is a nice cathedral. Coventry Cathedral, less so. What else have we got in here? We've got the Romans used concrete too, and many of those buildings lasted 2,000 years or more. Yeah, but there's the what's it called? The Parthenon. I want to call it the Parthenon in Rome, which has the famous dome ceiling, which is made of concrete. But apart from that, they generally used concrete to fix things together, which is a great use of concrete, especially their type of concrete. That's what it should be used for. I believe. I think it should be used to fix it together, rocks and stones and bricks, so they don't come apart. And if you use Roman concrete, that'll work really well. Anyway, or you can just go full Mayan and just, I know it was the Incas, wasn't it? Just go full Inca, like a Sacsayhuaman, which is near Cusco in Peru, and they didn't use any cement. They just cut the stone so perfectly, like within millimeters of each other and just fix it together like a big jigsaw puzzle. It's amazing. Anyway, right, I'm going to get off now. So, these are sort of, I call them a fireside chat, although I don't have a fire, more of a lagoon side chat here in Bocas del Toro. Hopefully I'll get a video up of a tour of the island. If you have a look on the channel, there should be a video up now of a tour of the house. I couldn't do a tour of the island because, something else flashing me out in the water. Oh, is that a dolphin? I think that might have been a dolphin. It's always very exciting when we see a dolphin. The dolphins here, they use the bay to the right of me is called, and that's probably the left for you because I think I'm inverted, but the bay is called Dolphin Bay, and it's where the dolphins go to give birth to their young, because it's secluded, and also because of so much water coming down from the many rivers that flow into the archipelago. It means that this water is slightly less salty than the seawater outside. So maybe like normal salt water, let's say it's 4% salt. In that lagoon, it's like 3% salt or something. And that might not seem like much, but it's enough to ward off the big salty predators like the great white shark. They won't go in there because they can't. It's not salty enough for them. Because they is fish, whereas dolphins are mammals. So they go there and they give birth to their young, and then they go around the little pod for a few months when the little one learns to fish, and then they go off into the great white yonder. They're not pink dolphins, they're wild grey dolphins. Pink dolphins are in the Amazon. If you go into the Amazon, you can go and see some pink dolphins there if you are very, very, very lucky. Very lucky. I've seen them. Yes. I was just very lucky. So let's build about cocaine. So fun fact, over on Colon Island, which is just over there to the left of me, there is the remains of an old land, a clearing in the jungle, a very straight clearing in the jungle. If you hire a quad bike, you can fang your way along what used to be a runway for landing light aircraft. And that was put there by Pablo Escobar in the 1980s as a cocaine runway, and it had a little concrete building where they used to process the cocaine, I don't know, package it up, whatever, to send to the rich Americans that keep the cocaine and gun market afloat in these climes. Hurrah! Anyway, so maybe it was a seal. I think I see seals around here. I think it's too hot for seals. I think seals are more northern. Wasn't there a dolphin in the Thames a few years ago? Yeah, probably. Dolphins get about, you know. How wonderful. I love dolphins. I've seen some from the Mevagissey Ferry. Cool. Bottlenose. No, they're not bottlenose. They're wild grey dolphins here. And also, you shouldn't, you can't swim with them. They'll kill you. I mean, they can kill you. They won't, but they can. If they feel like their young one's getting threatened, they will literally headbutt you at like 30 miles an hour in your chest. And yeah, they'll break you. They will break you. You've seen dolphins gang up on sharks and stuff. They can be vicious when they want to be, and they can communicate. Really cute. Anyway, what's that? What was the flipper? What's that flipper? Little Timmy's trapped down the well. Always fun. That runway should have a blue plaque, lest we forget. Indeed. You're ruining my dreams. Flipper, faster than lightning. Viv, you can swim with bottlenose dolphins. They're a lot tamer, and there are places where you can swim with dolphins, but not these ones. Don't swim with these ones. These are the rough dolphins. These are like the rough gangs of dolphins. These are like gangster dolphins. Don't mess with them. Grade 1 cocaine runway, indeed. All right, listen, I'm going to be back tomorrow morning. So I'm going to try and keep doing this every morning. Well, for me, every morning at 8, but it'll be for you. It'll be 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So we're going to do it because we're not doing any evening shows while I'm here, I don't think, because I can't use my laptop to make videos, so I have to use my phone, and it's very difficult to do a multi-chat thing on my phone. Apparently, there is a way of doing it. I might try and work out how to do it on my phone. It won't look as good when I have your messages coming. Up on the side of the screen here, yeah, we'll make it look. Actually, no, for you it'd be like that, wouldn't it? It's how I don't know. Left and right are very confusing when you're using this. Anyway, so thank you very much for watching. Thanks for the super chats. Yeah, we took like nearly 60 quid in super chats today. That's really kind of you. Thank you. If you want to help out and buy a bag of dirt or two for the island, I'd be really grateful. Head over to the GoFundMe for Ginger Island. Help Restore Ginger Island, it's called. You can probably find it if you search for it, but I'm going to put the link in the description now before I forget. Porpoises are found in your area too, Graham. Who are they? Nice. America has become a hybrid of Idiocracy and The Handmaid's Tale. It has indeed, with a bit of Taliban and ISIS thrown in as well. Anyway, so until tomorrow, thank you very much for watching. And until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.